Second Watch. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Second Watch. It's a kind of a special edition, I think, because we got a bunch of guests with us tonight. DM Cloaker, you've been here before. You know him, you love him. And then we have a very special guest, Kyle, Dying Breed Tabletop from Nerd Cognito. Thank you guys for being here. Gary, what's been going on, man?
Not a lot, man. It's been a busy week, and I have actually been away from games. So I am really glad to be here tonight. The only thing that's happened this week, as far as gaming goes, is watching the Shadowdark money go up, up, and up.
Well, yeah, and this is actually why I wanted to try to get as many people here as possible without cluttering and making it just this cacophony of voices. But I know Cloaker, you've played Shadowdark, you like Shadowdark, you're a fan of Shadowdark, and Kyle, you've been gaming for a long time. You've got a voice of experience, and the conversation, I'm going to get right into it. Normally, we kind of do a little, hey, what kind of games did you play kind of thing, but I think there's a lot to talk about. And I kind of want to frame the conversation a little bit. We don't have to stay here, but just to sort of where I'm thinking of. I sort of feel like the industry is in the middle of maybe the beginning stage or middle stage of a soft revolution of sorts, a quiet revolution, and it's about to get kind of loud. There's a lot of things going on. Everything from Wizards of the Coast and D&D 2024 kind of falling flat, it seems like. How Wizards has kind of soured the brand, so to speak. You have now Shadowdark. There's other things that we don't have to. I don't really want to talk about tonight, but I do think they're part of this, like AI's becoming a thing, and then just the general cultural shift politically in the West, I think, is going to be playing a role. The late great Andrew Breitbart famously said, politics flows down from culture, and here we are. The gaming is a cultural, right? So I think we're in the middle of something big, and I think things are going to heat up in the next couple of years. And I think the fact that Shadowdark made $1 million in 12 hours. 1.3 million the first time in 30 days, 1.3 in like 3 days, and she's still got like 27 days to go. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Maybe, I don't know, whoever wants to field this first question, but like, guys, what do you think this means? Does it mean anything? Am I off base? What do you think? Go ahead, Gary. Tell me I'm wrong.
Nah, you know what? I don't think you're wrong. It's definitely a shift. Listen, I think the only thing that can stop this shift right now, this shift towards indie games, towards, more grittier sort of old games or old style games, the only thing that could stop it is if Dungeons and Dragons got its shit together. That brand name will always be a thing, right? So when it does well, if the game is half playable, I think it's always going to have a fairly decent audience. I don't think the game right now is half playable. I mean, no, I don't think anybody really knows what the game is right now. What are you playing? I'm really happy for her success. I think Shadowdark's a great game. Overall, I don't know what it means. I actually have a couple concerns with the brand Dungeons and Dragons doing so poorly. And I don't know if the indies can come up to make that up or not. I don't know. I'm happy for all the success she's had. I'm glad she's having it. I would love to see a day where, more and more people are playing games like that. And we don't have the big boy in the room, but we still do. I don't know how much of a shift this will be permanently.
Interesting. Brian, what do you think? Sorry. No, it's good. It's good.
Well, I mean, first off, let's do the whole, I'm an alcoholic. I'm running my 5e paid game tomorrow, 5e 2024 game tomorrow. That's my pay group, and I will say Shadowdark, having run Shadowdark for the last couple of years, with a variety of both players that I'm very familiar with, but also spending time at my local gaming store. For 6 months, I was part of a monthly um, program where we would bring people all in and talk to them about, what are tabletop role-playing games, how can you find the game that works for you. And I did an entire 2-hour seminar on Shadowdark. And it really is a tremendous litmus that this game and this movement, this dedicated fan base, is so rabid that it has rapidly. It's at 1.4 right now, so it's already eclipsed the original. Think about how much of an accomplishment that is. Normally, a core game, when it debuts on Kickstarter or Backer Kit, is going to have its dedicated investors. But usually there's that attrition, and then usually, okay, maybe you get maybe 75% of what the original Kickstarter garnered, and then 50%. So it's a diminishing returns. That's not happening. There's a lot of reasons probably why. We can speculate. I think the biggest part, though, is that it has an incredibly passionate fan base. There's some good stuff inside of the fan base. There's also a little bit of I'll say this word. Okay, we'll throw out the first controversial term of the night. Let me go ahead. I'll do it. I'll just step on the landmine. It's a little simpy. And there's just a lot of really overtly dedicated. If this was some random designer that wasn't a daughter of the OSR, that wasn't a single creator, would it have this amount of passion behind it from I put $349 down myself, so
Oh, shit.
I don't know. It's mixed. And I think, Gary, you're spot on. What does this mean in this sort of transition? There's a lot to glean from this right now. I don't think we have the answers yet.
I think that's fair. Kyle, what are your thoughts? Just going around, and then we'll just start yelling.
I think Arcane Library deserves a lot of credit. I think it's fantastic news. I love to see indies succeed. I love to see the indie devs succeed. She's knocking it out of the park. I think there's a lot to be said here, and I know we're going to get into a lot of it. My initial thought is that we're seeing there's definitely a shift in the hobby. And like you said, it's kind of a quiet thing right now. I think it's definitely going to ramp up. And I'm trying to figure out exactly how to phrase this. What it really demonstrates is that there's a demand out there that's not being met by WotC or Hasbro. There are people that Shadowdark is supposed to have a kind of an old school vibe with the modern mechanics. People like the modern mechanics. She was able to basically OSRify in a way, 5th edition, which was a task in and of itself.
Yeah.
But then she also nailed the marketing on it.
Exactly. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, but it shows that there's a hunger out there that whether it's simpy or not, 1.4 million in 12 days or whatever it is, right?
It's insane. It's so good.
The first one took everybody, by storm. The original Shadowdark book was 1.3 million,
Yeah.
and it kind of sent shockwaves through at least the creator part of the community, the people actually putting stuff out there, right? And we saw, and to be 100% honest, I'd never heard of her before. I'd never heard of the Arcane Library when that happened.
Same here.
Same here.
It kind of came out of left field. It was crazy.
Yeah, I actually learned about the Arcane Library through Professor Dungeon Master, because he kind of I can't remember if he reviewed the book first, and then I saw her heartfelt video post OGL debacle. I can't remember which came first, but I know he told her to make that video. He's like, you should do this, because that heartfelt video was, I have this game, and now I might have to rewrite the whole thing. I was going to kickstart it in a couple months, and I was like, oh crap, holy crap, what is this? And that's when the Shadowdark started in my ear. And then fast forward a couple months, the Kickstarter, and then Professor Dungeon Master then came second. He did like a review, and I'm like, huh. You know what? I'm gonna back this, and then boom, it was like 1.3 million.
Yeah.
She did something, and this is part of, I think, that revolution I'm talking about. But real quick, I see Ryan David in the chat. Hey man, thanks for being here, everybody.
I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, he's out there. I didn't highlight it, but
My co-host, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, everybody, Ryan David, Kyle, Hybrid Tabletop tomorrow, Speakeasy, 5:00 on Rumble. Go check it out. They're supporters of this show, and we want to support them too as a thank you. So, but anyway, Vendor Satan has gotten a little bit of trouble when that happened. He did.
I didn't want to. I wasn't going to mention that.
Yeah,
he's kind of a friend.
Yeah, I love the guy too, but he kind of like I don't know. He came a lot of the guys in the OSR, had a little sour grapes about it, and I get it. Like, I completely understand. You've been grinding for a long time, but this is the thing that a lot of people aren't getting. The revolution is not just like game mechanics. It's the presentation, it's the marketing, it's how you get yourself out there. With Drive-Thru RPG, the industry started to get sort of decentralized, right? Now people could like make their own thing, and there was this place that they can go and they can do it, and that's great. But now there's a lot of people out there, so how do you break through all that noise? And Kelsey, in my opinion, the Arcane Library basically showed us how it's done. You know what I mean? And Black Lodge Games did practically the same thing. They came out, started putting out really good videos, started doing their live streams, and I knew when they first came out, I'm like, Black Lodge Games, that sounds like a game company, not a live stream. And then the Shucked Oyster came out, right? So I really think creators in this space have to start getting creative about how they get their names out there. We have a super chat from Flintfire Forge. I know. I can finally get that newspaper I've always wanted. One big factor: Kelsey has not crapped the bed, not once. She puts her head down and works hard. Wizards of the Coast only knows how to crap the bed. Yes,
absolutely. That's the one thing. If I could say, I mean, the biggest thing. She hasn't made a misstep. She hasn't done anything wrong. She hasn't. There are some people I hear making some complaints that she's never spoken about. I mean, she hasn't gotten in the mud. She's done everything right. The product that she puts out is of a higher quality than almost any indie game I can think of. So, this is earned. Right, regardless of what you think about the game, all the fucking Twitter bullshit, right? I hate that shit. Anyway, regardless of all of that, somebody went to work, and their idea was really good, and it is broken through. You're right.
What do we see in the system? Like, what is our draw? We all run games. I'm sure each of us has. Gary, I'm going to go on a limb and think that probably some of it's just layout. I know you love.
No. Here's the thing. I'm gonna look, man. Here we are. I'm about to get in trouble. I think Shadowdark is a fine game. I really do, and I've run it for my kids a few times. It's not really my game of choice for whatever reason. It's all taste, right? It's all just taste. I like it. I think it's fine. I love the way it's written. I love the way it's laid out. I mean, it is a beautiful, very usable product, right? It's easy on the eyes. It's easy to find stuff. Everything is 2-page spread. Everything is labeled. It's all those things you need when you're hunting, when you've got a book and you're hunting on the table for something, which you'll never need to because the rules are so goddamn easy that once you get the basic concept of it, it's not something you need at the table. It's that simple and clean of a game. Not my game of choice. But I can't say anything bad about it, right? The only reason I don't run it all the time is taste. I have another game that I happen to like better right now. Brian, Matt, you know my mind might change before the end of this podcast.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the wind to change directions. I'm like, oh, we're gonna play DCC now.
Yeah. Shit, you want to play DCC? I'm down.
Every game is like a succubus to Gary. It's just waiting to sink into his throat.
Yeah, Gary is the reason why I have the phrase "system whore" in my lexicon.
Well, I get excited, man. And then what winds up happening, and we don't have to talk about this. Well, we can talk about this because it goes into Shadowdark. Is typically what happens is there's one like new take on a core mechanic that I really like about these other games. And then a lot of them wind up being gimmicks that don't really mean anything when you're playing the game, right? And then here comes Shadowdark with this very simple torch rule. Torches last an hour of real time. And you hear it and you think, what the fuck? How? Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, how's that? And then when you play it, it works.
Yeah.
Light means something, you know?
She play tested the hell out of this game. My understanding is that she'd been working on this for quite some time. And that was, essentially they were playing, different iterations as it progressed of Shadowdark. That's been my understanding. I don't know that that's true. This is kind of the rumors I've heard. But what Arcane Library really did was set the new standard for what the expectation is. Not only are people hungry for something else, people want a solid premium product. They want a pretty book, good binding, and she hit all the points. Modern mechanics. It's the core rules essentially. I would say probably 80% of modern D&D players are going to be able to adapt very quickly to it. There's not going to be huge steep learning curve, right? So she hit that. She's got the nostalgia factor, just that cover alone, man. If you're like me and you grew up listening to Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, with the blacklight posters on the wall and things like that. I mean, you've got that vibe going. So she tapped into nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's just she knocked it out of the park, and a lot of people are now bothered by the fact that, and I'm not saying that they weren't doing tremendous work before, but now the bar's been raised.
Yeah,
and entered the league is what happened. Right? Like you got a lot of great players, you got a lot of great teams, and there's some kid named
we lost him.
Did we thought maybe it was the storms, because I know there's storms around.
Yeah, we lost you there for a second, Gary.
Sorry about that. We've got one of these high wind, don't throw your cigarette on the ground days here. So
yeah. Well, to kind of, because it sounded like you were saying, Michael Jordan showed up, right?
Yeah, no, that's what happened.
And I just kind of highlight this super chat from Paladin. Thank you, man. Pundit was awful to her. Lots of lip smacking. I got into it with Pundit a little bit, and I want to be honest with you. Like, I respect Pundit. I like Lion and Dragon. I like what he produces. I think what he does is great. I used to, and I still do on a time to time, listen to his takes on game design and stuff. But it was kind of an example of what I was talking about earlier. Like, the industry is changing, and if you want to be a creator in this space, you got to change with it. And Kelsey, maybe she saw it. I think she saw it, because part of how she did what she did is she had like this extensive email list, that she sent out to everybody because of all the play testing she done, all the handshaking she was doing at cons, introducing herself, talking to people, and then talking to other YouTubers. And what was really weird too is that some people, and again, I don't want to rehash some of these arguments, but some of the complaints was, oh, she's going to YouTubers. It's like, yeah, she's marketing. She's marketing. That's like what you're supposed to do. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that, and I got another super chat. I don't want to forget these from Ultra. Hey man, thank you so much. This is why I stand for just classic gaming now. Whether it's old school essentials or hell, even thirsty sword lesbians, play what you like. Well, maybe not thirsty. Well, no, if thirsty sword lesbians, sure, fine. But I don't. You won't catch me playing that one. But yes, I agree. Like a lot of people. Completely off topic, but I got to say this. A lot of people, talking heads in this industry, seem to think that they need to like talk about some panacea, some like hilltop they're trying to get to that's going to make the perfect game, and they make fun of people who are like, hey, we're here to have fun. It's like, well, games are entertainment. Entertainment's fun. That's why we're doing this. So play what you want. I'm all for that. So but to kind of bring it back to what you were saying, Kyle, like this hunger people were having.
Yeah.
One of the things, and to also to you, Brian, what you were asking, like one of the things I like about it, it feels like BX. It really feels like BX to me. I can do whatever I want with that, like I used to
Oh, okay.
when I was younger. Like, do I want to make a new character class to fit this weird homebrew world thing that I'm working on? It is so easy with Shadowdark. Like I could just do it. And not to get controversial either, Gary. I'm kind of with you. It's a fine game. I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad I play it. It's not my preferred because I think I'm just a more experienced game master. I want something a little more meat on its bones. But it's a great game, and the games I've ran it, that I've run, like I've enjoyed. It's been fun. The players have had fun. But yeah, it just feels like BX, and that's for me the draw. Like the torch mechanic's cool, the D20 system, it's simple, but really it just feels like BX. Like I can do whatever I want with this without fear of breaking the game.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Look, Shadowdark, it is a great game. And if you're wanting to leave 5e, it should be in the top 2 or 3 games you look at, I think. But Brian, DM Cloaker, we've talked about this before. Who's most excited? And here we go. I don't want to be negative. I just want to bring some things up. Who's most excited about Shadowdark?
Definitely not my season 5e players.
Not your season 5e players.
No,
and in fact,
I wrestled.
Yeah,
that was
is it DMs or is it players? Is it guys who run games or is it people who play games that are excited about Shadowdark?
Oh, I mean, we're chicken and the egg here a little bit. I mean, this is how it usually is, right? I mean, it's the game masters that drive so many of these great games because we do find those things that appeal to us. Maybe it's a mechanic, maybe it's the art design. For me, Secrets of Skyhorn Lighthouse, which was an adventure that she wrote, I loved the way that she kind of reinvented the way of creating adventure design. That was what was really appealing to me. So whenever I talk to some of my fellow, I don't know, players and DMs, the elegant brevity, those are the 2 words I use. Elegant brevity. It is a very empowering game for new DMs, new game masters. I'm running Shadowdark for 3 sets of married couples in a few weeks that have never played. They just wanted to play D&D. They asked, "Oh, are we going to be playing the new D&D? Are we going to play old D&D?" I was like, we're going to play a game called Shadowdark that is rooted in so much of the concepts, and I promise you're going to enjoy it. And they were like, "Game on, game on." So
okay, but
it's new people.
But that doesn't. It's new people. Okay, because, and this is anecdotal. It's totally anecdotal. I still don't see when I walk through a shop. I don't see Shadowdark being played. The other day, I actually saw kids with 2024 books, and when I say kids, like I mean, I think a high schooler was maybe the DM.
Yeah.
I see people really excited about Shadowdark who are already on the inside. And I'm not saying I don't want to slam Shadowdark, but we're talking about how this is going to change things and how it changes the industry. And I'm of the mindset that it's great right now, but I think without it being in stores, without that name getting out there at the same rate as, you know, Dungeons and Dragons. It's nobody's ever asked me, hey, Gary, I want to play a role-playing game. They say, hey, you play Dungeons and Dragons, right? You know what I mean? So if we're talking about what effect does this have on games in general, I would love to be wrong, but I think until those things make it into stores, until kids get their hands on it and they get their mom and dad to buy it as they walk through, I don't know that it has that big of an impact.
I anticipated you saying that, Gary. I did, because you
Prove me wrong. I'd love to be wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong, actually. And this is sort of like if Kelsey, if you listen, if you watch the second watch, please let me know. We'll have you on. She doesn't watch it. She doesn't watch it. You know, where, me and my 900 followers, I love all of you. But I love all of you. But if she was watching, if she could hear this, I would say you have a potential to do something that no one else in this industry has done, and that is set herself up to put her book in stores. Like, why isn't she like basically telling volunteers, hey, I'll pay for the pizza, go to the local gaming store and start running Shadowdark, hand out cards that say, hey, thanks for playing my game. But I think she does. That's the thing, because the only people, and this is to Gary's point, the only people who know Shadowdark really well are the people who are online and tapped in. If she could get into the stores, then she'll have staying power. And I think she's poised to do it.
Circuit City, Chubby Funster. I'm talking about game stores.
Well, but I mean, she's done 2 Kickstarters back to back. Both have made over $1 million plus. She doesn't need to.
No, she doesn't. Look, personally, she doesn't need to. She's doing fine. Her game is fine. Like, she's fine. But, you know, we were talking earlier about what does this mean to the gaming industry, right?
Well, I understand your point.
Yeah,
but it's a pebble. It's a pebble in the pond, right?
Well, and I think the reason that keeps coming up for me is because I believe her game could be that, right? I believe that, you know, a Shadowdark could do the same thing that Pathfinder did, maybe even better, right? I mean, and whether you like Pathfinder or not, I just mean as far as like appeal to people. Right. Shadowdark has a really wide appeal. You get Shadowdark in your local gaming store somehow. I don't know how that works, so I'm not blaming anybody. But you get it in a gaming store, and I think it has a real possibility to be the thing that overtakes the corporate giant, even if just for a little while.
I agree. That's exactly.
You know? But I think that if we're talking about a lasting impact, like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you know, something like that. I mean, if somebody comes along and puts Dungeons and Dragons back together somehow, and all of a sudden it's a good game, I think people are going to go back to the brand names. I just think that's how people are.
Unless Shadowdark becomes a brand, right? Which is what you're getting at.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I think if she gets that into the stores, I think she makes a lasting, for as long as she wants, she's right there. And when I say right there with the big boys, I mean, you got to, you know, Marvel and DC have like 75% market cap. Image has, you know, 20, and they're doing great with that 20. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I still think Dungeons and Dragons is like Levi's at this point. You know, it's where people are going to look. Shadowdark's better. Get it into stores. It'll be around forever. Right now, I worry it's just kind of an internet thing.
I'm not so sure. I think if there is a shift occurring, that whether it's Kelsey that leads the charge and winds up on the top, or somebody else follows her and follows her model of success, right, and takes that spot, if that ever happens, then but I think regardless, you can look back and someday you'll be able to say Shadowdark is where it began.
Truth. Hey, look at that. The Arcane
Whole-
Library's in the chat.
Holy crap.
Hello. We love you.
Kelsey, Dion,
Wow.
yeah, we're huge fans.
Cool. Very cool.
Thank you for joining my humble channel.
It's a great game, and I think it has that kind of long lasting potential. But please, stores, I want to see
Well,
kids picking it up.
Yeah, but like I was saying, it's a pebble in a pond sort of thing, man. It's baby steps, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She put in the work. You know, I mean, she worked. She understood that in order to be successful, she had to work 10 times harder than everybody else, and she did it.
Right.
Right. So she hit that level of success. That's step one. Now she's got her second Kickstarter, 1.4 million. Only half the backers so far that she had on the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First one was 1.3 million, 13,200 and something, 13,200 and something backers, right?
I don't know what problems they're having right now, but I want those problems. You know what I mean?
No, but I mean, the point is you're not seeing Shadowdark in the stores yet because it was 13,000 backers.
Yeah.
How many people play D&D worldwide, right? I mean, it's baby steps, man. I mean, I give her all the credit in the world. I think if anybody can do it, it's her. I think if anybody can do it, it's her.
I agree with you, and I think that, I mean, I hope you understand that's kind of what I was trying to get across. It's kind of like right now is the moment. You know what I mean? Like right now is that opportunity. You know, it's like a thief backstabbing.
Right.
You're in the shadows. The back is turned. They obviously don't give a fuck, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't care. They're just like, people will buy it, whatever.
Yeah.
And she is right there, man. And
It was timing was impeccable on it too. We were coming out of, you know, a little removed, but not too. It still had a bad taste in everybody's mouth. The OGL stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's
Coming right.
Yeah. Well,
rolling right out of that. And, you know, then, like I said, she hit the nostalgia. She got the layout. She got premium, high quality, you know, product. And it's just,
the nostalgia. So behind me, now y'all can see it. So that is Lucas Corte, the artist, who has done a lot of. He did the cover of the Ten-Eyed Beholder, or the Ten-Eyed Oracle. For my birthday, I had him take the monster that killed me in my very first D&D game back in 1982, which was a cloaker in A2, Secret of the Slaver's Stockade. And the nostalgia of me being able to see that back cover done with a cloaker in that Shadowdark style. You're spot on. It turned me into a kid again, which is rejuvenative for us as players and game masters, because that's the feel. Now, of course, it is beautifully designed and it has that elegant brevity, which makes it easily referenced for new players. If you're in the heat of things, yes, the zeitgeist was captured incredibly, coming off the heels of the game, the whole SRD scandal and all that such. I've run probably at my local gaming store probably about 10 sessions of Shadowdark with various different players. People who've also tried their hand at Call of Cthulhu, Deadlands, other games, and they have come back to me and said that Shadowdark was the most enjoyable of the new games that they tried out. I asked them why. They said it was because they could imagine themselves doing the things that they were doing. It was very imaginative. So it has tapped into something for new players. Gaming stores, I sat on the other side of the counter because sometimes for my local gaming store, they'll ask me, what are some things we should order? And they're like, we need to get Shadowdark. Does she have a retailer's pack? And I think she did at one point. There was like a retailer's pack in the original Kickstarter and such. But they're desperate. Like they're like, man, we could sell this. It's going to be a really tricky time right now for a lot of other unrelated reasons for publishing, and especially black and white publishing, to be successful right now in the months to come, especially after April 1st. The best thing we can do is, take those starter packs, go out there and just run games. And that is the gospel that feeds these games. So
earlier there was Arcane Library had left a message talking about how distributors really kind of want to take too much They want to take some control. So there's caution with doing that, and I think that is great. Man, I would love. This is going to sound so silly, but wouldn't it be great to see sort of an Image Comics thing happen with indie creators?
Yeah, well,
You know,
I would. I've been lurking in the shadows, talking to various people. I don't want to name names, but they have very successful YouTube channels from Europe, trying to come up and create a drive-through RPG alternative. So far, no success because it's that in and of itself is another issue. But I would love to see something like that. I think it would make what we're kind of talking about easier to accomplish and make that sort of fantasy, that dream, a reality where the D&D is taken down. And I just want to point out, like, right now, that I think the what's the word I'm looking for? I think WotC is at its weakest point ever. 2024 is just not selling well. People are soured on the brand, and depending on how much money she makes with this, she's going to have, I think, and she knows the business better than we do. And Kelsey, we did send you a link. You're more than welcome to join us. But like, I want to bring up another point that's part of the business model that's helped make this successful, I think. And it's a business model that Morkborg used. And Morkborg's kind of niche. And I never thought it would survive a few years, as long as it has. Because I just don't like the game. But like, a very vibrant third-party community and very welcoming. So there was just a flurry of Lamentations people who were like, I love Morkborg and I'm going to write for it. I even thought about it, and Kelsey has just been so awesome with third-party creators, allowing them to like do stuff. And I think when geeks and nerds and whatnot see something they like supported, it means that there's like this emotional personal investment, and they want to be able to say, this is my thing and I'm collecting it. So when they see their product supported, or the product that they like supported, I think it helps with the longevity, because I've seen so many OSR guys and game creators who just like, hey, I made this thing, and they put it out in the void, and then there's like nothing. You don't hear about it again because they're not doing anything else. So we are selling direct to right now. Okay, cool. It's a slow build. Got to get the word out and work with them and support them. Well, if you need people to run your games at local gaming stores, I mean, I would volunteer in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me know what you need. Dragon's Lair, Austin, San Antonio, I believe Dallas as well. I could be wrong.
Yeah, there's two in Rochester, Millennium Games and Just Games. Very vibrant communities on east and west side of Rochester. So
yeah. Well, do you expect what did the last couple big Kickstarters for role playing games was like Axe 2, and that didn't make anywhere near this.
Yeah, Axe 2 was not anywhere close.
Yeah, it was nowhere. What was the last one?
It's like 200K.
I think Knave did real well.
That was about half a mil, but well, sorry, I'm trying to like watch this chat and talk to you at the same time. Well, I don't know.
I do know.
Money for pizza, so I can like get kids to
I'm
eat.
the Gary from this. I will definitely send you. Really, Kelsey, I think, do you remember? I mean, of course you remember you made them, but you had those quick start rules. I think if somehow you could get like some of those physical copies to people, just and I know that's paper printing, blah, 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 that kind of stuff is expensive, but if we could find a way to get those in hands as opposed to phones, and just get those out to game masters that you know what I mean, or people that you interact with, that you trust in that area. I'd be more than happy to help out in Texas, and I'm sure there'd be tons of volunteers.
It's got an entire Discord server. I'm sure would love to.
Yeah. So, all right. So anyway, do we expect this kind of success for any game other than this, or do we think this is kind of
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's stuff. I mean, if you look at Fallen London. Have you heard of Fallen London?
mm-mm.
No.
Okay, it's a role playing game. It was crowdfunded. It made just over little over $1 million, and that ended on March 13th. Okay. I actually did a little bit of research for this, believe it or not. I usually don't do any research. I just fly by the seat of my pants.
Neither do I.
The Magnus Archives role playing game, just over $2 million. Now that's a Monty Cook game.
Okay.
To be fair, right? Monty Cook's established name in the business, so $2 million for that. Shadowdark, of course, the Western Reaches is still going crazy, out of control. 26 days to go on that. Axe made 333,000, which is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong.
It's just nowhere near that scale.
But
yeah,
right, and didn't have near the number of backers on it either. And then there's a little thing called Tiny Epic Dungeons.
I heard of that.
I'd never even heard of it. 2.1 million, and then they've got they're in the middle of a Kickstarter right now that so far has raised 733,000 with 7 days to go on that, and it's kind of an expansion on what they've got going on. So what's coming to my mind here is you got a guy like me who doesn't have the time to dedicate to a Kickstarter and make all these promises. So if I produce something, I'm making a PDF and throwing it on Drive-Thru RPG, right? I'm like the garage band, the high school garage band guy,
Me too.
And then you got Kelsey, who's like, she's getting the gigs and she's playing the clubs and the local music scene, and now she's going regional or and even national kind of thing, right? I think you're starting to see that kind of a split in the creative part of the hobby, where you're going to have the garage band style, and it's like, hey, I'm just going to make a PDF and throw that out there and try to promote it, and maybe pay myself for my time, but it's never going to be something where I'll be able to quit my day job and become an actual game designer, right? And then you've got this other more focused group that's willing to put in the hard work, that's willing to sacrifice to get to that level, like the Kelseys. I know he's not popular with everybody. Daniel D. Fox is another one that puts out, you talk about beautiful looking products. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what you think of him, regardless of how you think his games play or what he does, his products are, the quality is better than anything Watsy puts out.
Well, yeah, I think you're onto something there.
I think a lot of people are putting out stuff that looks better than what Watsy's doing right now.
Yeah, well, and that goes to the point that Wizards of the Coast is a wounded giant right now, and now's the time to strike if you have the means. And I think, Kyle, you're right about that. There is this. There's two things you have to do when you do this. You have to basically say to yourself, I'm not going to make a lot of money. I'm doing this for the love of the hobby. That's what I said to myself a few years ago when I threw my hat in the ring and started writing for the Red Room, of all places. I make tens of dollars, right?
Yeah.
But I love it, and that's cool. And that's why I just kind of, it's part of the hobby for me, but what I said earlier in the stream, the Arcane Library gave you the roadmap. Like, roll up your sleeves, take your game to cons, go to cons every summer, all the cons, as many as you can, play the game,
network with people.
Yeah, and there is no shame in saying, hey, insert YouTuber here, would you mind looking at my game and talking about it? Like, you gotta do that. Like, and I'm starting to do that. I mean, it's part of the reason why I started doing this live stream, because no one knows who I am, you know what I mean? And I'd like people to kind of know who I am. So, but that's part of it, and that's part of the change. And if you're not willing to do that, then you are going to be a garage band, to use your analogy.
Yeah, and I think Gary hit on it earlier too. One other thing, and I think it can't be understated, that she kept her nose clean. She stayed out of the mud, like Gary said, and I mean.
Yeah, classy.
Classy, right? Exactly. That's a great word for it. And she handled everything so well. And that's one of the problems that a lot of the old school guys, and no offense to anybody, but they get out there, they start spouting politics, or they start doing this, or they start doing that, and they immediately alienate a huge segment of potential market.
Yep.
Right. That's why I'll never be a Kelsey. I'll never have $1 million Kickstarter because I've pissed off too many people.
Yeah, you and me both, brother.
So, and then it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Well,
But it takes incredible focus to do that. It takes an incredible amount of focus and restraint and discipline. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think here's what I think it takes. I think it takes a professional outlook. When you decide you're going to do something as a profession, you take it seriously, you conduct yourself accordingly. And what I see, I'm getting in so much trouble. There are certain creators who are creating games that are good, and they get real fucking emotional. And they do it real publicly. They do it out in front of everybody, sometimes half dressed. And I think
I know who you're talking about.
Still a great game, though.
It's an incredible
I know
game.
You're talking about too.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is there's other people. There's just the one dude who does it half naked. So here's the thing. Your games aren't as good to other people. People have different tastes. Some of you have had some, crazy, weird business things happen with like drive-through or something like that. I've heard about these things, and that sucks. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, like, you've got somebody who has presented themselves professionally and made sure to make everybody feel welcome playing a game, regardless of, whatever bullshit's going on X. And that's so important. So important, sometimes completely naked.
I was going to say it's not just half, Gary. It's not just half.
It does matter how you present yourself, and thank you, Arcane Library. I think that too. It sounds so stupid, but it was like me and my stepdad couldn't talk to each other, but we could sit down for 6 hours on Sunday and watch football. Right. And kind of get along.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, if everybody would just shut up every once in a while about shit they don't know anything about anyway, that they can't control, they can't do anything about, if they would just chill out and play a game together.
That would require me to stop drinking.
I can attest to the, I have probably run, I would say probably around like 40 to 50 sessions probably of Shadowdark over the past 2 years. And as a person who's been running games for 40 years, it's some of the most comfortable, relaxed, enjoyable, immersive games that I've ever run. I can also certainly attest it has turned me into a little bit more of a subversive with my 5e games as I've taken Shadowdark elements and introduced some of those into my 5e24 games. I was like, hey, you want to trade out Dark Vision for a feat? Let's do it, brother. And so I'm attacking the light. I use some of the random tables inside of it. I use the luck tokens, which, Kelsey, I'm the one that had the poker luck tokens that you had to caution me on about with the lawyer. I'm the one that had those done privately. It was me. Those luck tokens for Shadowdark are used in my 5e game. It was me. And she was classy about it. She was like, oh, you know what? Let me check with the lawyer and make sure that this is okay. It was me. And I was like, oh, man, I'm sorry. I did not mean to infringe on any trademark. I love my poker. I have a Trello board. So I have a Trello board, a workspace that has all my Shadowdark stuff. Like the first year I had it on the Facebook group, and I started just getting inundated with people saying, oh, please share that with me. Matt, you're shared on that Shadowdark Trello board because there's a lot of fun stuff there for reference, but it's also an infringement on her creative work. So I got to be careful that my zealotry for this game and for the system and the enjoyable experiences I've seen it facilitate for so long, I've got to be careful that I don't let that rabid fandom wind up, infringing on a really talented creator who is pouring everything into this blueprint that other creators are going to be able to benefit from years from now and say, you know what, this is a little bit of the model. This is the way. But I've had a lot of fun, though, being subversive in my 5e24 games, bringing in Shadowdark stuff with it. And my players, the ones that have been playing for 20, 30 years, they know I'm doing it. They know that it's Shadowdark stuff,
Right.
and they're just kind of giving me the wink and it's like, okay, all right, it's cool. You can, because it's like the Darkest Dungeon piece. Like the new players that I was playing this game with that had never played a single role-playing game, but they played Darkest Dungeon. They brought up that game, that video game, and they loved the lethality. They love the fact that anything could go awry at any moment. These are people that grew up watching movies like Saw. So Shadowdark has tapped into this element of gamers that have that certain competitiveness, that know that it's all the Finch OSR principles, which it's that, be heroic, not super heroic. The answer's on your character sheet. It's what you like. These are the tenets of great gaming. And so Kelsey really created a tremendous medium for it.
So
I just want to read this real quick because it's funny. My lawyer is like, you understand owning a trademark means you have to enforce it. And I was like, okay, but I don't like being mean. Very good. Very good.
So if you don't mind, I want to change course just a little bit and talk about the actual Kickstarter is
Take care, Paladin. Thanks for showing up.
Later, Paladin. What's it called? Western Reaches, right?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the criticisms that I have long heard with Shadowdark that I've been kind of neutral on because I feel like you have to try it. One of the criticisms I have heard is that it's a good game, but it wouldn't be great for a long-term campaign.
Bullshit.
Well, that's what we're here for, because I feel like this very Kickstarter is kind of like, oh yeah, well, let's find out, and it's actually, I have to tell you, I'm very set. I have the game I like when it comes to D20 games, right? But it does tip me more towards that. Well, you know what? Maybe this one will be you know what I mean? Like it's putting me more in that sort of Shadowdark camp. I'm probably more excited about this release than I was the core game.
Right.
Honestly,
Well, it hit the timing window for you, didn't it? Like it's kind of weird how she worked on this for the last 2 years.
If you're Arcane Library, if you're still here, just last week, I made the foolish announcement to the few people who listen to us that I was going to be putting together a West Marches campaign. And I got, though this week, you don't know how much advice I got this week. I was blowing up. And then along comes your Kickstarter, which I didn't know. I didn't know was coming. And there it is, a whole campaign setting. So thanks a lot. She does have the best timing though, right? OGL, bam. What? Gary's starting a campaign. Hang on.
Everyone's talking about West Marches. Yeah, let's do West.
Yeah, who has the most luck tokens? She has the most luck tokens.
Yes.
Yeah. Word.
Well, that just goes to going back to I really do want to talk about this Kickstarter and the product that's coming out, because she's doing the world, the implied setting that was in the main book, and it's showing that this game has staying power. It's being supported by the creator herself, and I love the zines that you get too if you pledge high enough. That kind of thing I think really matters to the community, and she could do an expansion in 2 years. You know what I mean? But obviously, I would like to see it in bookstores. But
no, I'm. It's funny because it's real easy to become familiar with the Shadowdark core book. It's just it's layout, it's presentation. Like I said, it's real easy to become familiar with that. And I'm really curious to see how that translates to a campaign setting. One of the reasons I don't use a lot of campaign settings is I just don't like the books. A lot of those old campaign settings are just a fucking hassle to use, and I change everything anyway. So if we're looking at something that's more like in the, what are the Cursed Scrolls? which I have all of them. You know, I've even run one. No, maybe that was a carcass crawler dungeon. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point being is you know, I do wonder if it's a lot of that stuff coming together with a bunch of new. I mean, those are the little hex crawls and stuff. They're great.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm
they work.
curious. I'm curious. I mean, she's released some screenshots of like the West Marches stuff that it's in the book to kind of like let people know what this is going to be. Yeah, I'm curious about what else is in there in terms of
Yeah.
beyond just like the world, like what other kind of recommendations, you know, rules, that sort of thing, alternative rules. Because going back to your question about long-term play, I'm kind of neutral on it as well. Like I said, it feels like BX, and that's why I like it. I feel I can do whatever I want with it. But you know, it doesn't have domain rules in the main book, right? It doesn't have certain things.
Only
But at the
DMs
same,
care about domain rules.
yeah, but well, that's true. But like at the same time, like I don't think it's a big deal because I can do whatever I want with it. It's like, you know what I mean? So it'd be interesting to see what is in the book. And that, like, beyond just liking the Arcane Library's work and wanting to support it, like I just have a genuine intellectual curiosity. And that's you know, one of the reasons why I also backed the Kickstarter. Let's see this. The setting really is like a giant cursed scroll. The idea is usability first and foremost. Love that. With that, I also worry, wrongly, rightly, whether I'm striking the right balance of too little, too much.
No, it's a good
I
bonus. No.
I think the way I'll say in the curse scrolls that are already out, the way that you imply setting gives the GM enough to work with without putting a stranglehold on them. I think. I mean, in my opinion, I like a lot of control over my games, but you know, I don't feel like the stuff that you release puts any handcuffs on people at all.
100%. In
Yeah.
fact, some of the stuff that I've been thinking about and working on, I'm like borrowing from you in the sense like how you do this curse scrolls. Like I just love that. You get kind of you get like an adventure, or, you know, a dungeon or a hex crawl or both, but you also get something that advances the implied setting, something fun for the players to play with, like a new character class or spells or something. I think that is where the OSR should be going. We don't need any more retro clones. What we need are setting material supplements to add to someone's game, whether they use it wholesale or just piecemeal, you know. So
Well, even beyond that, also within the Kickstarter, I'm gonna tell you some things. Like the ladies that I run games for, they love they love things that they can. The spell cards, like all the ladies in my, they're gonna love that. They're gonna love just having the spell cards, something that's
I
there, that's tangible. Because you know, my games are like 50-50, you know, between the genders and such, and I find that, you know, my ladies at the table, they love having all the tchotchkes and stuff. I guess there's like a fabric map or something. There's like an actual scroll. Like they're gonna love that. That's like right within that not Glenn Johns. He's a producer. The fellow who did the Midlands, whose name escapes me.
no clue.
Yeah, he's probably an apex predator when it comes to map design. If you haven't seen the Midlands, it's a UK product, and it is absolutely gorgeous maps, very great open concepts. It hits in the exact same tone. It's kind of like a UK Shadowdark in its own way. What Kelsey does and what he does so well is they give us little nuggets of information that as game masters we can run from and or run with, and it's either provocative or evocative. That's all I need as a game master. If I have something that's just a sentence or two on a hex, something within the content, like, man, we can really make that work. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that Kickstarter that I think is just going to be great for players. The interface that gives them a little bit more to connect. They love the books. The books are elegant, and my buddy's wife, she thinks that it's the prettiest book. And that's what you want. You want something that person's just going to read and peruse. So
I wanted to highlight House of Nick's role playing comment here. The Shadow Dark stuff give one the dignity of being a co-creator versus spoon feeding one with "this is how you have to do it." What do you guys think of that? I kind of agree with that comment. Like what she's pumped out with the Cursed Scroll. Like you don't feel like you're being told like this is the way this world needs to be run. That's how I felt about like the old Forgotten Realms stuff after first edition, for example. Like it was too melodramatic. One of the reasons why I never wanted to play in Dragonlance, too much stuff had gone on. I really feel like, she's given me some tools and I get to do what I want with it.
Well,
By the way, Glenn Seal is his name. I just looked it up. The Mitterlands, and it's from Monkey Blood Publishing.
He's good.
Yeah, it's incredible
He's
stuff.
very
And that's
good.
what Kelsey hits that zone. And she's U.S. domestic shipping, which is also good for me because I had to pay a lot to get the Mitterlands stuff shifted to me.
So I'm just curious, and I kind of want Kyle, because I know from you guys, I don't know from Kyle. When you run games, do you run in IP or campaign settings, or are you a homebrew kind of guy?
I'm a homebrew now, but when I was younger, it was primarily Greyhawk or early, like the original box set Forgotten Realms, right?
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, I realized that I kind of want more creative control myself for setting the stage, so to speak. Not that it's a theater production. I mean, I'm not Critical Role, but it's you know what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. Yep.
I like the ability to adapt things to either the taste of my table or my own taste, or a combination thereof. Right?
Well, and I also find that when I play in a published setting, like I love Mystara because I played in it as a kid, right? But I find that when I play in a published setting, I'm always afraid I'm going to break something, right? Like there's something set up that if I do this, I'm going to ruin, and that's never really the case. But that is one of the things, with the Cursed Scroll zines, is that I don't ever feel like I'm going to break it. You're just getting enough lore, enough stuff, and you can really do what you want.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. Matt, you've been playing in, well, you've just been in the Temple of Elemental Evil. So
yeah, well, I've been playing Shadowdark on the Borderlands with my buddies and their kids off and on. We're hopefully going to get that started now that school's going to be winding down in summer vacation. I don't know where you were going with that, but I'm just trying to keep it about Shadowdark.
I'm just curious because we're talking about Western Reaches and how it's like an implied setting. And
yeah,
are you is it just something you'd open up a setting and just go for it? You're that guy, right? You would.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I want. Like one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of Temple of Elemental Evil is like it's just not laid out well.
Right,
it's old school. Like Gary didn't know that you kind of need to do certain things, right? And that's how the game evolved and the industry's evolved. But like with the zines that I have, I could just pick it up and be like, hey, we're going to do this X crawl. And it's right here in this book, and it's all right there, real easy to access. And that's why I'm really excited about the Western Reaches book, because presumably it's going to be just like that. I could just pick it up. Where are we going today? Off we go, so.
Yep. What else we got, gentlemen?
Well, we can keep talking if you need to step away for a second.
I do need to step away for a second. Please
go for it. All right. So let's see. We've been talking about how awesome Shadowdark is, and what else we've been talking about. The industry changing. I want to go back to the industry changing too, because I do. I'm glad Kelsey's here too, because maybe she might be able to add some insight to it. But I saw some comment a while back that a lot of local gaming stores are closing down, and a lot of things are going online. But let me. I'm sorry. I can sleep a bit. Oh, I thought she said she was going to sleep. Anyway, I can sleep a bit more peacefully hearing that from you. It will be. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But But yeah, so do you think that's where it's going to be? Like more self-publishing? I mean, that's pretty much what she's done, right? She's found the publisher, she's the printer and everything, and off she goes. Is it even worth looking into like a physical store and getting a physical presence? Like, what are your guys' take on that?
I think that I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I mean, I'll be 100% honest. You know, I'm an old man, and I buy as much online as I can because I hate going to right. And so, is there? And honestly, I think a lot of what keeps a lot of the local gaming stores open is that it's a meeting place for people. That's why people run games there, right? I mean, yeah, you got the books and everything, but um, yeah, I wonder sometimes. You know, we've had a lot of places close here. You know, in the
Yeah.
Kansas City area, and the ones that are open, you know, they're doing what they can. But I mean, it's not like back in the days of when we were kids, right? Where you know, there was a wargaming shop, or there was a bookstore, or you know, or whatever you had. It's just, I think that there's always going to be some of those around, you know. um, I don't know that they'll ever go away entirely, but you know, I never thought I'd see a day where there wasn't a Blockbuster in every major metropolitan city too. So,
I worked
Right.
for 9 years. I didn't either. $4.5 billion company, and I left them in 2005. 3 years later, they were gone. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
It's interesting too, because like we're talking about like what does this mean for the industry? Like what does it mean? I also am trying to think like where's this game in 5 years? Because this is my desert island game. If I'm on an island and I have one book in hand to run games, it's going to be Shadowdark. And you think about how much electronic digital interface is such a big part for new players' experiences. It'll be interesting to see how things like settings and all the different elements and the zines and like what does that look like for the digital virtual customer and the player and the GM. That'll be really interesting transition. And if there's any product that is, I guess, OSR, independent creator, that's going to be a litmus for how this gets navigated in the next 5 to 8 years. It's going to be this game. Like, this is going to be it. This is going to be one of those games because it's
yeah,
grassroots, homegrown, single creator, and she's navigated every torrential downpour very well so far. How does that look as we go, 5, 8 years in the future when Gen Alpha, my nieces who play Shadow Dark and they love it right now at age 10 and 13. Well, how are the girls when they're 18 or 20 playing with Uncle Brian? And, what does that look like? That'll be really fascinating to see. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize, Kyle.
No, that's kind of what I want to talk about too. It's like a lot of this, like I said, the industry, in my opinion, is going through this revolution. It's more than just Shadow Dark and WotC falling over itself. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening. Everything seems to be shifting digital, but I like my books. And then talking about meeting
We
spaces,
got
but
to
now
get away from books.
Discord, Discord, Discord seems to be a place where people are like using to meet and greet. I mean, Shadow Dark's Discord is like freaking off the hook. Very positive community too, by the way. I'm a lurker. I'm shy,
Yeah,
but
I lurk. I don't post.
but like but the downside with like Discord is it's so decentralized. You don't have that central meeting point where you have to Kelsey's point that she made earlier about games unifying people. You're not having all these different people showing up at the gaming store and setting aside their political differences and other differences just to game. A lot of these discords are centered around not just a game, but certain personalities. I know mine is, my Discord is like, it's got its sort of personality, right? So I don't know. I hope that the local gaming stores stick around. I mean, the one that I have near, there's two of them, but the one has been around for a very long time, and it's not dying. It's doing quite well. And if she can get in those stores,
Well,
I don't know.
we talk about the gaming stores, and I've said this. I don't know if I've said it on the stream before, but I worry that what is going to happen to game stores is the same thing that happens to comic book stores, wherein when Marvel and DC are doing good, comic stores across the country do well, and independent comic creators make more money. And when Marvel and DC are in the shit tank, fewer people come in the stores, and indie sales and things go down. And what I worry about is that, at least as far as role-playing games go, Dungeons and Dragons sucks right now. What if people just aren't into it, and things do get skipped over at the store?
Well,
could that bring the whole hobby down a bit?
yeah. Well, that's why. Yeah, and we've had similar conversations, and you've made this point before, and that's why I'm not trying to give
D&D to be healthy.
I want to see D&D
stores.
Well, I want to see D&D pierced through the heart and killed, because I'm freaking done with it, man. I am so bored. They've ruined it. But just hear me out. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give Kelsey business advice. I'm sure she's got lawyers, she's got people. But if she gets in the biz, I really think if she gets into local gaming stores and people are playing the game, because to me, there's two spiritual successors on the market right now, and that is Shadowdark from like the BX line of D&D and Adventure Conqueror King system for the advanced D&D line. I really think they are capturing what D&D used to be. Flint Flyer Forge is taking off. Hey, man, thanks for showing up.
Later,
Appreciate
Flint.
it. Have a good night, man.
I'd throw another game in there, but I generally agree with you, yeah.
So, I mean, and what I mean by spiritual successor, I know it's not exactly BX, but it feels like BX. And there's obviously, to Kyle's point, people are looking for that. They're tired of the superheroic, push button D&D. They want that immersive and imaginative experience of, as Griff was talking about a couple weeks ago. What are you doing, man? What do you want to do? Yeah. And Shadowdark provides that. It just needs to get in the gaming stores, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So, and just to go to underscore my point here, if we were still talking about 2014 D&D, I would agree with you. Agree with you. But WotC has made so many missteps these past few years that I think this is a whole new set of situation, and that's why I say I really think we're about to experience a huge change.
It's not just that, but seeing this second Shadowdark Kickstarter has really kind of it's
Shadowdark is not a flash in the pan.
No, it's put me more in a frame of mind of, okay, this is the world we live in now, as opposed to, I think before it was like, how long can this last? And I think like you said, all the WotC screw ups. Yeah, I think it's WotC screw ups, and I think this is just what it is now. I just want it. I don't know, man. It's that game. You know what I mean? It's the one you came up with as a kid. You don't want it to die outright. I'm
done.
I wish they would.
It's
I really wish they would gear it.
Man, I'm done with her.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
I mean, after everything that's gone on,
as the guy here that is running 5e24 and Shadowdark every other weekend and doing pretty full quantities of it, I think that we're at a stage right now where, Gary, you're right. We don't need to see something atrophy just because there's a bitterness or frustration within whatever the echo chambers might be. I think 5e is going to be just fine. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Yes, probably about 5-7 years. They'll look at some way to reinvent it again, but it's still going to be rooted in that D&D Beyond ecosystem that they paid all that money.
I know.
And
There's no.
and Kelsey says she thinks it's going to be an about face in 5 years. Well, it has to be, but will it?
Well, what does that mean, right? So there's a lot of ways we can unpack that. Like, what is an about face for a system like that? Okay, well, it's very combat driven, right? It's very grid based. It doesn't have far, near, close. It doesn't have the elegance of expediting. Like my 5e players that like Shadowdark, they do speak to the amount of encounters that they're able to get into a single session. In my typical 3 to 4 hour Shadowdark game, we're knocking on the door of 12 to 15. That's not uncommon. Versus my 5e games where maybe we're around like 7 to 10 at most. So you're getting a lot more for your money. It will probably get simplified at some point. It'll be interesting to see, does Shadowdark get more advanced 4 or 5 years from now? And do we start to see, I don't say like a rule cyclopedia for it?
Can I vote on that right now? I think unless 3 years down the road we find out that something is just broken, I would really like to see Shadowdark stay what it is, because I think it's pretty damn close to perfect. I'd like to see more content for it. I'd like to see people, maybe do certain kinds of expansions. Those guys who are interested in domain play, somebody come up with domain play, adventures, all of that kind of stuff. But I really hope that Shadowdark stays pretty much what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, Gary, that's an unrealistic expectation. I think everything changes over time, right?
True.
And just the fact that you talk about, I want expansions, I want to see domain level play, in the future, possibly, different things like that. That's going to change the game. It's not going to be in the state it's in now.
I was thinking like third party, add-ons and things that are optional.
Okay.
There's an Old West Shadowdark rule set that's out there floating around that someone's getting ready to throw out there. Two of my buddies that are running other Shadowdark campaigns, he's one of my Blood Bowl X-Wing miniatures guys, but he's running a Shadowdark campaign for about the last 6 months. He does it at the University of Houston. And we do Boot Hill, old school Boot Hill, and he was like, man, did you see that there's like a Shadowdark rule set for Old West, Weird West? So I haven't seen it, but just the fact that this system can provoke. We know Shadow Sun, right? Shadow Sun has got already
right.
interesting following, but like if you can get different genres and put it on the chassis, that is the magic sauce. Because that's really, I'm not saying, GURP it up, but I'm saying something where it's so easy to pick up the modularity, because that's what makes Shadowdark so again, elegant to run, because you can just pick it up, immediately reference it. So
how important, let me ask you this, how important, let's say somebody's putting out a big Shadowdark supplement, or they're doing a different genre, they're doing Boot Hill or whatever. What's the equivalent to the torch rule? Like, do you think all of those? Like, that's
a question, isn't it?
I mean, seriously, because
like, how do we?
Well, and I'm serious about that, because everybody looks at that torch rule like it's just a thing, right? Up until you're playing Shadowdark and you're at the table, and that torch rule means a lot.
Yeah,
it really is. It's so important to what Shadowdark is. So you see all these side things coming out, and I'm just curious. This is not me like talking shit. Like, what are they doing to keep that style of that essence? You know what I mean? That thing at the center of the action.
Yeah, Gary and I have talked about this a lot. And when I first heard about the torch rule, I was like, oh, this is kind of gimmicky, whatever. But when you actually use it, there's some kind of you have like this visceral reaction as a player, especially when you have a game master knows that they have to attack the light. You start actually feeling kind of what your character would be feeling once the lights go out. There's something really powerful about that torch rule, and it's not a gimmick. It's really smart. So what do you do with it in other settings?
Right.
Like what are you going to do with Boot Hill? It's, I don't know.
My bad. Yeah, what do they do with it?
I just want to see. I want to see Robert Eggers direct a Shadowdark film. I mean,
He already has.
I know he has like everything's already.
Like everything he's ever made.
Oh man, he is it, man. Like it's
I do like Robert Eggers. So
Eggers
I'm just
great.
playing around.
That's.
Wait
I
a
mean,
minute.
if I was going to equate an artist in one medium right now that's doing their own thing and has it such stylized that you already know when you see a frame
Right.
of an Eggers film, that's what Arcane Library has kind of got going now. I mean, there's probably I think at least 7 to 9 different artists that are part of these products, but yet they all feel. Well, it does go back to the BX roots, right? It does go back to the Moldvay where you have all the different artists, but it all feels intrinsically linked.
Yeah,
And it tells
absolutely.
you that it tells you she's established. This is it. It's her superpower, really. Relationships. She has forged. Like I guess Runehammer served as a strong mentor for her, and you can
I
see
love that
something like
guy.
that. Yeah, right. I mean, he's a creative maniac, and in
Maniac.
his
I
proximity,
don't even know him.
so like I think the power of her forging relationships and think about that was because it was done for her. It was done for her as a daughter of the OSR growing up and playing the game. She had people that took her seriously as a creator, and so she gained that confidence and she got the reps because she earned it. This is all earned. Kyle, you mentioned it earlier. Like she worked hard for this. And as creators and game masters, how can you not root and want to run? And by the way, Gary, is all the stuff that you were saying a little while ago, I was about to say, I want to see you run 10 to 15 sessions and then come back and then come back. And then we can
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no. Yeah, I don't know why I haven't done it. I really don't. There's nothing.
You love jumping from system to system because you love tinkering. You're a great.
I know absolutely, but that's the thing is and I don't want to slight any game whatsoever. It's just that right now I'm really taken with BX OSE. It's kind of where my head is. You know what I mean? I think Shadowdark's a great game, and I plan on stealing everything I can that I like, and I will put it in my game.
You know what's sacrilegious?
I will tell you this. I would love to run. I would definitely love to run some Shadowdark games. Unfortunately, most of my gaming right now is all online. Friends, all kinds of stuff happening, and that is where my gaming life is centered right now. Unfortunately, really, because I think games are better when you're with people and around a table. If I had a regular around the table group, I'm almost positive we'd be running Shadowdark.
Take it easy, Ultra. Thanks for stopping by, man.
So, but I think you're right. Maybe I should run 10 to 15.
I've been doing so like with my 5e players that are in some of my Shadowdark games that have been very well versed in 5e. Mm-hmm. I've also used it as a way to introduce them to homebrew and design because it's a sleek chassis. And so when they say things like one of my players, she was mentioning like she misses being able to do all of her Circle of the Moon stuff and everything with druids. And I was like, well, if you want to do that, what might that look like? And then I start getting her ideas. Well, let's do that. Let's just add that. We can add that onto the skeleton that is this system. And then see the light bulb go off and she's like, oh, that's cool. What's that going to look like? It's really cool to see players start thinking as creators, that like, oh, wow, I'm going to create these things pulled from other systems or pulled from other concepts and put it onto these. Because, if you tell somebody it's just the Gauntlet 4 classes, you see a little bit of deflation with a person who's played games that have a lot more meat on the bone. But then you say, well, that's just the working beginning.
Yeah.
Like, what can you bring to this? This is where I want to get your help as a player. What do you want to build off of that to make it?
Sure.
So
sure. Yeah. No, I see that. Kyle, have you run any Shadowdark games or any more than just a handful or?
No, and I'm secret confession time. This might get me booted off the show. I don't own it. Yeah, I'm not a 5e guy. I have tremendous respect for the Arcane Library and the product and the success, and I hear everybody talk about it. I have heard very few negative comments about it, and even the negative ones I've heard are really kind of in that neutral area.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
nobody's come out and just said this game sucks. Nobody says that.
Yeah.
Oh, someone has. I'm sure.
I'm sure there. Yeah, I'm sure
has.
there's like one guy in Ohio or something, right? You know, but I think that, you know, we talk about the relationships that Kelsey's built. We talk about the work that she's put in. I think there's something else here that probably needs to be said, and it kind of goes back to when we brought up WotC earlier. And perhaps it's just because she's an independent developer and game designer, but clear vision. She had a focus and a clear, distinct idea. Thank you.
You're good, Kyle. You're good.
I might pick it up now. I don't know. But she had a clear vision and a very, you know, a very laser sharp focus about this is what I'm making. And I think that how that correlates to the current conditions of the D&D as a brand with WotC is they don't really have a clear idea of what this game, of what D&D is anymore, right? They're trying to do too many different things, and they're all scattered in a bunch of different directions. You know, there's talk about a virtual tabletop, right? Oh, so it's going to be a you know, an MMO locally?
Yeah.
Well, no. It's, you can still buy the books. Okay, so it's not that. And then they put out these source books and settings books, and you know, you can go to prom and you can play a barista, and you know, or you can now you can go fight Strahd.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what the hell are you doing, guys? I mean, you pick something, right?
Yeah.
Kelsey doesn't have that problem, and I don't know if that's a you know, a downside to being a large corporation where essentially you've got too many cooks spoiling the soup, you know, kind of thing, or
that might be part of it, but
I blame leadership.
Yeah, I think it's more that because WotC was a big corporation during third edition days, and that game wasn't terrible. And while you may not like the mechanics, it still felt kind of like D&D, you know. Whereas what's come out in 2024, I don't know what this is, and this is why I am so bitter.
And I think that's why the sales are flagging. Nobody knows what it is
because it's, you look at the art, for example, there's no adventure there. It's not inspiring, you know, this, that, you know, and again, it's got the same kind of bloat. I think leadership thought it was going to cater, and this is not a political channel, so I'm not trying to get political here, but they try to cater to a certain audience that who aren't buying the game, period. And that's why it's such a massive misstep that now's the time to strike. Kelsey, I'm trying to convince you to to go crazy, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But I think that, you know, there's just a lot of different factors that just really led to the success of this. I don't see, obviously, with Western Reaches coming out, we see the success there already, and she's what, 4 days in.
Yeah.
If that, I don't even know how long it's been, but she got 26 days to go and soon to be 25. But it's.
So why do we think it bucked the trend? I mean, it bucked the trend typically with Kickstarters and backer kits. The second, third, fourth, fifth products, it is the law of diminishing returns. What was different here? What was it? 2 years of goodwill? Was it the Any Awards? Really, was it just people all paying $349 for the top tier? I mean, I did. My buddy's like, "Are you doing the big one?" I'm like, "I'm doing the big one."
I think it was, my personal opinion is because Shadowdark was such a high quality, easily accessible product, whereas some of these others may or may not have been, that people craved more. People, they literally was like, "Oh my God, this is great. I want more stuff like this." So boom, here she comes out of the gate with the next one, and everybody just jumps on it.
Yeah, and I
they
think
just
that
absolutely jump on it.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that part of that third party, you know, that very permissive third and welcoming third party license, and that community of creators that are built up around it. Again, it's like what Morkborg did, and Morkborg is like a niche part of the hobby. I mean, it was trying to tap into Lamentations players like myself who love horror and gore and weirdness. Not a huge part of the hobby, right? And Morkborg was able to kind of stick around because of that. Here, she actually made a game that was more D&D than D&D.
D&D, yep.
And so it's huge part of the hobby with that third party, community. And again, we've already talked about her professionalism and all that. I mean, I didn't expect Law of Diminishing Returns. What I put this actually, I think on some YouTube, I think it was her YouTube. When she announced this, I was like, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for her to put out something that says, not only do I believe in what I made, but I'm supporting it with further content. And so that to me is like, we'll see. Now, if there's going to be a Law of Diminishing Returns, we'll see what happens with the next Kickstarter.
Well, but Cloaker's right. Historically, with the crowdfunding, that is the trend, right? Get a big launch, and then it tapers off the more launches you have. It might be too soon to tell, but I mean, just the fact that she's already beat the first Kickstarter total, in just a few days compared to the entire run before, speaks a lot. I think it's pretty safe to say that it's going to be.
I'd be willing to bet money, Kyle, that MCDM Draw Steel is not going to outperform its original Kickstarter. I was in on that. I played 2 sessions of it. And then I'm like, not for me. I've already played Epic Spell Wars or whatever that game was. I don't want to see it in D&D form. Like, I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, when I saw that she hit 1 million on that first day. I would actually use the word validated, because as a game master running this in both with public, with strangers, but also with family and friends, and then also having it vie for my time as a game master with my 5e group. It's been a little bit of a labor of love for me for the past 2 years.
Right.
And so yeah, I think definitely it is a rarity. It's an oddity. It's a beautiful one to see right now at this time in the hobby. It's great. It's just great to see it right now.
And it's incredibly encouraging. It's incredibly encouraging for people that like, whether it's maybe not specifically OSRs or retro clones, but they like that old school vibe, right? I mean, it's encouraging for old guys like me.
Agreed.
I see Shadowdark and I'm like, hey, the kids are going to be all right,
Yeah, I had the same feeling, man. I had the same feeling.
Absolutely, yeah. That I think we were talking about why is this one so big, and because it's like we said before, there's been no missteps. And a lot of that, this is going to sound weird. A lot of that is about just not reacting to every little thing that happens, and just going on about your business, doing what you need to do, staying out of the dirt. But it's not just, but it's,
Look at this product that she's already showing, all these draws and mock-ups. She has been laboring on this for the last.
And that's the other thing is that, and I say this, and I know it's gonna piss people off, but a lot of these indie guys, their game might be good, but it's just not coming out in the right package. It feels like your neighbor put it together, right? It's we were talking earlier. It's like your garage band thing. You know what I mean? Hey,
my neighbor can't even mow his yard. What are you talking about?
I was taking a drink, man.
Yeah, it just, and I'm not saying that they're not good games or anything, because there's a lot of good indie stuff out there right now, but it just doesn't measure up. It's not as neat. It's not as clean. There's just so many boxes that were checked off when, not just writing, but with the art, with the physical product, the size of the physical product, the whole kit and caboodle. And I think people should be straight up copying the things that she did.
I agreed. And it kind of goes to something I said earlier. I mean, Drive-Through RPG allowed people to, do print on demand, and then they have their friend who's a good editor kind of edit. They get some art. They put some time and energy and some money in there, and then they put it on Drive-Thru RPG. And if they get enough people looking at it and rating it and reviewing it, it'll bump up on the algorithm or whatever, right? And they can say, hey, look at me, I published something and I made some money, and I'm now a publisher. But now everybody can do that, and this is why I look at what she's doing, what she did and is doing, and it's radically different, right? She's like doing this. She's got she's got a printer and she's doing it all herself. She's not relying on Drive-Thru RPG, and that's why I'm looking at, to your point, Gary, about doing things differently so it doesn't look like a garage band and it actually looks like a polished label band.
Right.
Is this where the industry has to go? Is Drive-Thru RPG and those sorts of indie games dead? I don't know. I don't
They're not dead. They're not dead, and they'll always be around. And that's how people are going to distribute their third-party Shadowdark stuff. Those places, they're not dead, and there's always going to be indie creators, and we're always going to have those games that are there. Like there's this great gem wrapped in crappy brown paper bags.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? We're always going to have that because very few people, I think, have an eye, or even people around them who together they can work together and have an eye for these details. And I just think, I don't know if it's like, well, the art doesn't matter because my rules are so good, or whatever it is. There seems to be a certain level where people are kind of satisfied. This is good enough. Is it good enough?
Well, it's kind of what I was trying to get at earlier, and I probably didn't speak. I probably didn't make my intentions or my idea that clear. Is I think you're going to have two tiers, right? You're going to have that sort of Drive-Thru RPG POD tier, and then you're going to have the Arcane Library tier, right? So people are going to you're going to have to know what you're doing when you get into it. If you're going to make something and put it out there, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep your day job and make a few bucks just because you love something and put that out there, or do you want to dedicate the time?
Fine.
Which is totally fine. It's absolutely fine, right? There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with being, a bar band, right? That's cool. But do you want to kickstart for $1 million plus? This is, if you're going to be successful, you got to do what successful people do, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that point of the two tiers, and I guess I did misunderstand it a little bit. And yeah, I do agree with that. So for those who dream of making this like your job, I mean, Shadowdark has shown you the way. And I think, it's going to come down to, are you willing to not just have the discipline, but also the sacrifice? Because I do hear this a lot too. Too many people kind of cut corners. I don't think it's as bad on the garage band level, but if you're trying to get to that upper tier, you can't, and you really need to invest the time into like hiring good editors and this is kind of, I don't want to go into this because we could talk 3 hours about artificial intelligence, but there's AI can help you edit. It can't do everything, but it can help you edit, right? AI can do so I mean, there's some serious business decisions that need to be made and contemplated when you are going to put something out into the market. And I think we are right now in the middle of this, whatever this is. I'm calling it a quiet revolution, but maybe it's something else.
And I think people too, especially the creators out there, I think it's a sad fact, and it's a hard pill to swallow for some people, but not everybody's going to have this kind of success, right?
Yeah.
In any field, it doesn't matter what it is. There's the top performers, and then it goes down from there, right? And so whether you're an athlete in sports, or whether you're a musician, or whatever, I mean, you know, Kelsey put in the work. She did have some luck on her side too, right?
Yeah,
OGL
There's
happened
always-
at the perfect time. She was getting
Sure.
ready to do the Kickstarter in 2 months, and then the OGL happened, which worked in hindsight to her great advantage.
Kyle, that's how she got me. She caught me at that moment. I was right on there where I'm like, I don't want to give this company another damn dollar. And you're spot on. She caught me right then and there. I found it very evocative. When I saw the art, it reminded me of Arrow Otis type of stuff. Like it spoke to me as a person who spends a lot of time every week, every day, preparing and thinking about running games for people. And I'm like, oh my God, this there's something about this that is a draw. Timing was very, very big. I think a big part of the third party scene that has happened with so many people building for this is a big part of why we're seeing so much success right now with this Kickstarter. And here's the thing, I mean, because she's not the first to trailblaze this, right? I mean, Matt, you probably see Shadowdark in a little bit of a purgatory between something like Lamentations, and then I mean, it's kind of in this middle spot there, but it's definitely one where you have so many individual creators and designers, and maybe they're an A+ student in one or two things. She doesn't have to, because she's the only one really driving so much of this creatively. Doesn't have to be A+ and everything. She's probably going to be the first to tell us she's B+ in everything. And it's a pretty level field for her creatively, that she has all these knobs and levers where the game latches into someone. Maybe it's for the art. I was not an art person for years until this game brought it back for me. I usually just look past art. I want to see, do I have rules that I can reference? Do I have rules that can be remembered? And do I have any bits of little lore that can provoke design for encounters? But this game kind of reawakened it's made my 5e games better. It has made my 5e games better because I've thought about how I'm conveying information to my players. If I got 5 or 7 people at a table, Shadowdark has made me a better game master over these past 2 years, because I've gotten back to fundamentals. I've gotten back to the basics of what it really is to run a game for people, knowing that everyone has a different thing that they appreciate about a game. Well, this game does offer it. And so, it's been wild, but you're right. There's been a lot of luck for her, and a lot of hard work, and all these things just kind of came together. And she's still maintaining that starving artist quality. All the best art, all the best movies, all the best music. It's whenever those artists stay hungry and they're not willing to just be sated. She's not sated. She stays chopping wood on things that are creative.
Yeah, and Patty actually said in the chat something too that I was going to quickly follow up with. There was that luck favors the prepared, and I think that's absolutely true, right? I mean, she put in the work, she did her due diligence, she paid her dues. She earned it. She got the pedigree. It's funny sometimes how the universe will kind of make things happen for a person like that. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to see. If I was a creator, I wouldn't be discouraged. I'd be like, okay, what'd you do? I want to talk. Give me some advice.
If I were a creator, I'd be creating for Shadowdark.
Can I send you an email? Can I ask you 5 questions? That's the kind of thing I would be doing. I wouldn't be trashing her on social media or anything like that.
3 to 5 years from now, she's going to be a great mentor for some other new designer who's 18 or 22 right now. She's going to do for them what was done for her. It's going to be good. It's going to pay.
I'm 54. I'll learn from her any day. I mean, seriously, it's like, you done good, kid. My God.
Yeah.
Give me some hints.
We got a super chat from Law Dog. Hey man, thanks for showing up. I saw you were at Max Liao stream. Let's see. Watsy for a long time has been designing for players. Let's make cool stuff for players. It seems that Kelsey found the sweet spot and made a game that's appealing to GMs as it was to players. The game is GM's paradise. I couldn't agree more. Like I've said, I can do anything I want with that. It feels like BX. Thanks, Law Dog, for the $20. I really appreciate it. Oh my God, we might actually be able to pay for this stream.
I know, it's crazy.
By the way,
It's
so that's going to be the tipping point. At some point in the future, we will know that this game has broken into new areas of success or hit a new frontier when players are bringing it to DMs. That's always the that's the litmus. Whenever you get players bringing, because it's always us, right? We're bringing all of our passion projects. Gary's bringing some random redhead game that he loves, and he's saying, "Here, right?" But when you'll know that the breakthrough is real when players start inquiring or asking. That is always the bellwether of whether or not a system is going to have legs. So.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick because I want to read Kelsey's latest. And Kelsey, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
very much.
I'm like humbled.
Really cool.
I got like 900 followers on this channel.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm nobody.
Thank
You so much. This Kickstarter is very vindicating because I now feel we're more than a one-hit wonder. There was always that worry, but I'm very encouraged that we have a future. Yeah, like I said, this is what I've been waiting for. You're supporting this, and that means people. You build it, they will come, and this is awesome. This is fantastic.
Agreed.
Well, we need some good news right now in the hobby. We need this. So these sort of stories are rejuvenative for us as creators and players and game masters. Like it's the kind of thing that makes you want to go back and I want to work on my next. I got a game tomorrow. It's a 6-hour session. I'm here with you guys, and the role playing gods have validated my time not spent preparing my game tomorrow. Because Arcane Library shows up, and it's super cool, man. It's just really cool.
Thanks a lot. Kelsey, we appreciate it very, very much. So
yeah, totally cool.
Very much. Well, guys, we're getting kind of close to that time. I think we've all agreed that this is kind of huge. That who knows what it means for games or the game industry in general, but I have no idea. But I do know that what it means for Shadowdark is that. I was one of those guys that was wondering how long is this game going to be around, and I think it's here. It's just here. The roots are planted.
I think we haven't even seen what the impact of this game is going to be, and I'm not sure that we can even fully speculate on it yet. I think in 3 to 5 years from now, that we're going to look back at this time and be like, that's when it started. Whatever it is, right? But it's definitely gonna. I mean, it's making waves. It's gonna have an impact. There's no doubt about it.
I'm gonna highlight something Ed said. I highlighted it before, but I'm gonna read it out. Quiet Revolution. Aren't you 4 from the 1980s? If you want it, Mr. Mateus, make it loud. RPG Revolution with the rock star in the chat. It might be a sign. And you know what? People don't know me well, but people who've talked to me privately know, I'm a big fan of people who create things. I try to do it, maybe I'm good, maybe I suck. I don't know, but it's fun. And I like seeing people get created. It's one of the reasons why I'm such a Lamentations of the Flame Princess fan, because James just is loves the art of it. And that's what I like. And if you're a creator in the chat, if you're a creator watching this, Kelsey has shown us the way. And I really do think there's big changes on the horizon. And I think now is the time to strike. If you got an idea, put it down on paper, talk to people, network, get out there and create and publish. And yes,
and find some of the other creators that are involved with Kelsey's work. Support them. Again, this cloaker right here, Lucas Corte, Showgoth Kinetics. You can find him on Instagram. He did this work for me. I want to say it was about $300. It's one of my favorite birthday gifts I've ever gotten in my life. So find those people that are out there, also the artists and the creators, and support them. Let them know.
I'm so glad you've turned into an art guy, Brian. Because I remember I used to talk about art and games and tell you how important it was, and I could just hear the back of your head hitting your shoulder, just fucking Gary. There was a time, every time I would bring up art in a game, I felt like my first name for you was fucking. Fucking Gary. Fucking Gary.
It's funny. Only in the last 2 years, this book, I just look at pictures and it gets
Dude,
the art has not been inspiring from Wizards of the Coast for a long time. Like I wasn't a fan even of third edition art. It was too anime. Like I wanted classic adventuring art, like you see in Shadowdark, like you see in Lamentations, like you see in some of the stuff that is out there in the indie scene. So,
yeah. Well, I'm just it's every 5 to 10 years, everybody laments that gaming is dead and it's going the way of the dodo and it's all going to get replaced by computers, and I just don't believe it. And I think this thing with Arcane Library and the Western Reaches is just more proof of that. People are always going to want to sit around together at a game table and roll some dice.
Agreed.
If we could just figure out a way to get like real money gambling into it. Fuck, dude.
Isn't that why we're doing a live stream?
I love gambling.
I thought,
like, if I could win money, that's the only thing that make it better.
All right, Kyle. Any last words, man? Final thoughts. I shouldn't say last words. That's more
final
thoughts.
last words before.
Don't do that to him.
It's like I'm standing on the gallows here.
It is dying. I mean, come on.
Yeah, in more ways than one. I mean, it's I said all I have to say. I really think that if you're younger creators out there, or maybe creators that haven't had success, look at Arcane Library and what she's done. You may not be able to go out and get a print company. You may not be able to do all these things, but you can still level up your game, so to speak, right? Just by doing some of those things. I think that's fantastic, and congratulations to her. I think it can only be good for the hobby.
Hey,
I just wanted on that. I don't know if Kelsey's still here, but I paid for an Affinity tutorial class. I think it might be the same one that you got, because I remember you said that you taught yourself Affinity after taking a class. So I'm paying attention. So, but Gary, you said you wanted to.
Yeah, I just have one last thing. After this Shadowdark tonight, and given what's happened with the Kickstarter, I'm just curious. I want to ask all the players who have been texting me with advice for this campaign I was going to start. Are we switching? Hit me up in Discord. Don't spam the channel. Just let me know. Do you want to do Shadowdark, or are we sticking with what we talked about? I'm open. Hit me up.
Any last thoughts? Brian?
Oh man, just what a blast! Thank you, Kyle, for coming in. It's cool. I have to.
Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
And so this is just what you two know. Y'all know. 2 years ago, I was talking about this game. Y'all know how much I've been on this train creatively. So, and it's funny too, because at my gaming store and in my circles, everyone knows me as the Shadowdark guy, and it's great to be able to have something that's exciting and expansive. That's something that's going to challenge me. It's going to challenge me to create in some different ways already with what I'm doing, and inspire and make my game better. So I'm looking forward to this Kickstarter when it lands. I love the fact that it's getting us thinking about what we really enjoy from creators and designers, and how it reinvigorates and challenges us to be students, like Kyle was saying earlier. Just like being a student of others, that's always a good trait to have. You can tell that Kelsey has been a student of the game for many, many years. It's paid off, and fortune favors the bold, chance favors the prepared mind. Build relationships, let's stay positive and keep driving those things that keep the game that we run healthy. Even if it's 5e, Matthew, it's okay. It's all right. I can. So anyway, but no, it was great. I love the chat, everything. There's a lot of good stuff going here. Anyway, thank you guys. It's great.
We did have a really great chat tonight, guys. Everybody, thank you who here was chatting, talking, and obviously Kelsey, thank you so much. I don't know if you've gone to bed; it is kind of late, but thank you so much for showing up. Yeah, this was great. Gary, any last thoughts? Send us out. You got that sexy Texas voice. Send us out.
Shit.
Yeah.
Look, I thank everybody for being here. Me and Matt love doing it. We love when Brian shows up to talk. Kyle, thank you very much. I know it's late, and you had to listen to a lot of my nonsense, but I really appreciate you being here. I love everybody in chat. You guys, we started putting the chat up on the screen, and now I'm following it, and it just makes it that much better. So this is, I'm doing this as much for me as I am for anybody else. So thank you guys for being here. Kelsey, thank you for being here. Go play some games this weekend. All right. Go have some fun and stop thinking about whatever it is that's bothering you, because you can't do shit about it anyway.
All right. Again, real quick, I'm going to plug Dying Breed, Nerd Cognito. They have the speakeasy tomorrow. I will be there, but I won't be drinking because I've given up booze for Lent. But I will be there drinking water. And Dying Breed, you got Kyle. You got a great taste in bourbon, man. So I'll definitely be there tomorrow. And I hope
it's
5 o'clock on Rumble.
Yeah. St. Patty's Day is coming up, so I'm having Irish whiskey.
Oh God, Lent.
My best was Irish car bombs. That's my best and worst drunk ever. Irish car bombs.
My girl handed me an Irish coffee this morning just to remind me that St. Patty's Day was coming up and that there would be a new green outfit. So
can't wait to see you in it.
I'm married a crazy.
Can't wait to see you in it.
All right. Well, with that, y'all, thank you so much. And our watch has ended.
Night, guys.
Cooper.
Cooper.
Where are you? Yeah, Cooper.